Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our coverage of eUnited versus Delta Fox, and it all comes down to Game 3. I never thought I'd actually get to say that in this series, so let's see how the picks and bans went for that deciding factor of Game number 3.
All right, Delta Fox back on the blue side, going with the Rek'Sai again. I'm going to assume that means Shifter in the jungle. We see Shen in the top lane, something a little different out of Dyrus, who's mostly been playing Kennen and generally strong top laners. This time going around a little more team-oriented. The Bard is back, which last time we saw Shifter on it. Assuming that this is Shifter in the jungle, this means Skara will be on it this time around. And then they're bringing the Cassiopeia back from Game 1, which also worked well for them. So getting a little bit closer back to their comp from the first time around. On the flip side, we see eUnited running the kind of TSM style comp that absolutely obliterated Team Liquid just earlier in the week.
Yeah, they have the Galio, and it's not support this time. Instead, they got the Braum in the support role, so we'll see if it's going to wind up being something they can wind up utilizing on GBM from the mid lane. It's another look at GBM too. So far, he's played 3 different styles kind of in this entire best-of-3 series as we're hopping into Game 3. Game 1, it was Lucian, didn't work out. Game 2 was Taliyah. He kind of got picked on a little bit. Game 3, now he's Galio. He's bolstered his defenses, but he's still going to be picked on.
Yeah, well, obviously the 80 carry mid laner evolution into Taliyah a little different, but Galio and Taliyah somewhat similar in terms of, you know, what they want to do as a team. Very, very different champions, obviously, as Galio builds full tank and doesn't quite have the soul out potential the way a Taliyah can if she's able to land her W pushback. But for the most part, you're going to be focusing on wave clearing and then roaming and using that global ultimate. And the reason I said this is similar to that TSM comp that we saw is that Jarvan top lane, Galio mid lane combination that just dives backlines and destroys them. One thing that's nicer for Delta Fox, though, is they do have some mobility available in the Lucian pick.
Yep, and they also have the Bard pickup, which will be Skara playing the Bard this time around, despite Shifter playing
He doesn't have Smite!
No, he doesn't. He's actually running the Ignite this time. The Tempered Fate could be something to turn around a lot of AoE, but if you're already blown up from the fact that the Jarvan Cataclysm still deals a lot of damage, might not be as easy to survive.
Yeah, but the only really good target is that Cassiopeia, like we said. You can still obviously get onto the Lucian if he's not ready for it, doesn't flash it, doesn't dash it, or you know, there's a lot of ways you can get onto it. Maybe it's on cooldown, but you do have the Shen to kind of come in and try and prevent that. So if they do go onto the Cassiopeia, you can get that Shen ultimate on. Maybe that keeps her alive, and that's the thing, is that Voice Cassiopeia looked decent in the previous game, matching up just fine against the Lucian pick.
He was playing super aggressive on it as well, something that was very low range. Even though the Galio won't take as much damage, we'll see if he's actually able to play up and in the face of GBM. For a second time in this best-of-3 series, we see already some aggression coming out from the side of Delta Fox. A good stun coming out from Skara on the Bard. Of course, this is, ooh, even another one landing down on it deftly. So some very fortunate Penguin stuns coming out from the side of Delta Fox's bottom lane. That's something we also mentioned in the first series of the day, is the fact that the Braum matchup from, it was originally CLG Academy that was running it. Braum into melee supports is usually an okay matchup with good gank assistance. Braum into range supports gets poked out and chunked out very strong early on.
And it's one of the things that can be pretty annoying for the Braum, just because the Bard projectile, being able to break and then tether onto somebody behind him, can it's just very frustrating to play against. And Braum, in particular, you kind of just deal with getting pushed in and beat up a little bit. I think that was Cutie Pie who just blasted Zeyzal over. Helping him out, saying, I'm going to help you, and then I'm going to kill you.
Stand behind wall.
So the big thing for eUnited is that they don't quite have as strong of a pressure point this time around. Dandy is going to have to work a little bit harder to find those ganks that he found pretty easily up on the top side when they had the Renekton Elise combination this time around.
Yeah, so we'll see if Dandy is going to be able to supplement that top side of the map again. As we mentioned, Dyrus with a different look on the Shen, something a little bit more team-oriented, not necessarily as damage-centric. So he is still getting bullied around by Licorice early on, but he's continuing to get this trade down because Shifter,
be careful,
coming over the wall, winds up using the tunnel to try to tunnel in because Dyrus is getting,
wave.
Taking massive amounts of damage early on. Shifter not going to be able to knock Licorice up in between there. Once you channel that flag and drag, you're able to just complete it. So Shifter not able to get the gank.
Well, the big problem is that he interrupted him prior to the Q actually starting to pull him. So if you start the Q and knock him up during that part, he'll complete the Q. If you knock him up after the Q starts, after you actually start moving, then you stop him from going. So just a little early on the unbarrel, but it was unlikely to net a kill anyways, just due to that massive creep wave and the chunk that Dyrus took. Now that opens up the bot side for a potential kill.
Yep, Scar already burning his flash. There's the stun, there's the flash body slam, and first blood goes over to Braum of all champions.
Good job by Braum. Zeyzal starting that one off, getting the Q slow. You know, Scar tries to flash away, but they're a little too far up in lane. They do need to play the bot lane aggressively, so, you know, they do have to be positioned a little bit far forward. There's no way you can just sit back and let the Varus Braum get away with having the weaker laning phase, but Danny definitely on the bot side, given the fact that he was mirroring the jungle clear that you saw coming out of Shifter, and a good answer there by the side of eUnited.
eUnited first on the board in this game yet again. So far they are 1 for 2 so far when they get first blood in games. We'll see if this is any different here. Early game advantages were able to be a strong point for eUnited in game number 2. We'll see if they're able to do so here in game 3 as GBM continues to getting chunked out here by Voyboy's Cassiopeia. As you mentioned, Voyboy's Cassio in game number 1 was pretty good, and this time continuing to play equally as aggressive against this Galio pickup mid lane.
And I don't know, Dyrus getting chunked out pretty hard here. It looked like Licorice backed and teleported back in right under the turret, pushes another minion wave in, and starts building a pretty large CS lead over Dyrus. Sitting at around 8 right now.
We see top side of the map with the CS advantages, but bottom side of the map has rotated into the mid lane, trying to get GBM just a little bit of pressure relief here from Voyboy's Cassiopeia, so you get a decent back off. Refills his crafting potion, probably going to end up straight up building into some magic resistance here. Galio, of course, will scale very, very well with that. In addition to that, mitigate the damage that comes out from Cassiopeia. Voyboy's gone back and finished his tier pretty early on, about 5 minutes in. It's going to be very nice for Cassiopeia to start stacking it up as quickly as possible. And actually, change of plans here for Galio. Instead goes for a Hextech Revolver.
Well, we had some criticisms towards GBM's build potentially in game 1. This time around, they kind of skipping over that early MR that you tend to see, often going for something like an Abyssal Mask. Instead going for the Proto Belt potentially with that purchase, wanting to play a more aggressive version of the Galio than we're used to seeing.
To be fair, there's only one real magic damage threat from the side of Delta Fox, although Galio, like you mentioned, scales very, very well with magic resistance, so we'll see
Scales
if he
well
wants
with it
else.
Against the Cassiopeia. And then, you know, Shen does bring some magic damage, so.
Not a ton, though, as though you see Bard bringing a bit of damage in the early game here, but they turn immediately on Namacutie, gets the stuns out from that. Heal's unavailable. Lots of damage coming in from the side of Deathly and Zazel. They got that early kill on the bottom side of the map, and they're pushing this advantage. Sightstone advantage also going to be very good for them, as since Zazel got that first blood kill, he's been able to transition that into vision control bot side.
Yeah, able to get a lot of vision down to try and give them room to work down the bot side. Here, Licorice on a nice roam down on the Void, potentially.
Ooh, yeah, about half HP already. Paralyzing Gaze gets dodged out here. The Stand United channel from Dyrus tries to land a taunt down into Licorice. Won't be able to get it, but a lot of damage coming out from Void. But turns around the Cataclysm. The hero's entrance is there, and Dandy's also here to back them up. Nobody dies in the mid lane.
Super close to being able to turn that kill around on the side of Delta Fox. Dyrus missed his taunt, but he could have potentially flashed directly on top of Licorice to make it so that Licorice could not flash away from it in response. And then they might have been able to kill him because no MR down there. You saw Boy was doing a lot of damage to him. Not able to connect onto the taunt, and then the Galio comes in over the top to protect his teammate in the Jarvan, and Delta Fox has to burn some flashes to get away.
We also see Delta Fox trading some damage between supports over a bit of a vision control battle in the Tri-Brush. Namacutie, who had been a bit of a strong point for Delta Fox, specifically in game number 1 where he got quite big, and then game number 2 where he was not as big and not able to really seal the deal for Delta Fox's comeback.
He was still 4-1.
Yeah,
the Pie was still doing things.
Yeah, then he ended 4-3. The Pie was not complete, as though good stun coming out from Scar down on the Deathly. Finds a bit of a hole here, but Deathly's level 6 already. Chain and Crush gets used. The follow-up stun there from Braum. Shifter coming down, tags him with a Prey Seeker, uses the ultimate to jump down on the Deathly, flashes forward after this one, but he's gonna get stunned up. Deathly's still alive, but Cutie Pie flashes forward, gets himself a kill, and now they're turning sights onto Zazel, but he's got a lot of HP. It looks like they're gonna back away.
Yeah, they're not tunneling on going for kills. They want to push this lane in. They're not exactly sure where some of the members are of eUnited. Now they see Dandy potentially coming down.
Yep.
Might get into a little bit of a 2v2 here, but they have a big creep wave. They have an AD carry versus support. And there you go. Delta Fox finds their first kill. They're on the board. Only 1,000 gold down right now. Not the end of the world, but got to be a little careful here.
The least hectic early game we've seen so far in this entire best of 3 is Voidboy getting a ton of damage down to Licorice. Twin Fang after Twin Fang, a flash forward, but the stun from Bard lands. Skara picks up a kill.
Skara, the bloodthirsty support, grabs a kill away from Voidboy potentially there. A little late on the flash by Licorice, gets tagged by the first half, and once you get hit by that, if there's a wall behind you, no flash will save you.
It's very true. And we see now goal count getting ever so closely close. It's 2 kills apiece here from both teams. Pretty much farm advantages and that first blood in the favor of eUnited as Dandy as well. In his opponent's side of the jungle, finds Skara. GBM gets a kill for himself.
Knocked back, knocked up, and then taunted up. Not much you can do there. Really nasty chain CC combo, and this is why that Galio Jarvan becomes such a menace in the late game. If you get knocked up by the Jarvan, the Galio comes in and knocks you up, has a Justice Punch follow-up, and a taunt. No one lives through that really as a squishy, assuming that all that lands on top of you.
Specifically when you are a squishy level 6 Bard, as opposed to even just the later stages game Bard, where you have some items and some extra health on your side. So already 3 kills now picked up by eUnited. About 1,000 gold advantage for them. Mayatsu gets thrown down by Voyboy. GBM, they're going to Justice Punch forward. Everybody joins the party in the mid lane, but Dandy taking a lot of tower shots, definitely has to flash forward for that kill. And despite 4 members there, Voyboy lives for a very long time.
Yeah, able to lifesteal a little bit there, using his Twin Fangs, healing up the initial all-in, not actually being able to kill him. Well played by Void, but there's no teammates around to help protect him there. You see in multiple members of eUnited getting low, but the rest of the team had gone back, especially after Skara had gotten picked off right before that. They get a good chunk of damage down this mid lane turret.
Yeah, they're trying to push through for the first tower gold of the game, but instead get forced back away as Shifter and Skara show up just to clear the waves for a bit.
Licorice is relentless with his pink warding. That, I think, is his 2nd or 3rd that he's thrown up in that topside brush. He wants to keep his deep vision so he can keep shoving in Dyrus, then roaming around the map. Got caught out once for it, but showing that he's not scared to keep making the aggressive play.
Yeah, that's what he did on the Renekton in game number 2, and he continued to punish Dyrus. I mean, he got a lot of early game advantages because of that double tower dive that went down from Dandy, but he continued to do that all across different sides of the map, making sure he was safe and sound in doing so. Now we see Delta Fox, a little bit of a proactive play themselves. They steal away a blue buff. It goes over to Shifter as he Smite Steal secures that one. On the side of Delta Fox, they're still giving him a little bit of pressure in the lane. CS advantages for definitely on the bottom side. CS advantages for Licorice on the top side.
Well, winning both side lanes in terms of CS gives them 1,500 gold advantage as well as 2 extra kills. First turret's still available though, and that's a good opportunity for Delta Fox to make their way back into this game if they can find a way to potentially get a pick off into a turret push. You see Skara and Shifter kind of hiding in this brush. They can use the Bard portal to potentially get over the wall. Doesn't look like they actually want to do it though, and they do see Dandy with their deep vision, so gonna get some vision control in the jungle, the river, excuse me, and potentially look for a pickoff.
Looks like the side of Delta Fox wanted to make something happen with that play, but we're unable to Bard portaling over that wall to make sure they secured something there. Instead, looking for control over this Dragon Pit area. They get the Scuttle Crab for themselves. Not going to wind up getting that Mountain Drake. Shifter finds himself a control ward. That one's not belonging to Licorice, however. Probably belonging down towards Zazel or GBM. And now Delta Fox, they got a bit of priority around this Dragon Pit area. They shoved up that bottom side of the map. And looks like they will be trying to transition this one into the first Elemental Drake of the game, which will be a Mountain Dragon in their favor. They brought Voyboy down from the mid lane to help secure this one. And Cutie Pie's pushed out that bottom lane, so this looks like it's an easy objective take for Delta Fox.
Yep, pretty free objective to take. But while they do that, the Dragon's Roar lets the side of eUnited know that Dyrus is isolated alone up here on the top side. Dandy was already up here, but now it's going to be all too telegraphed of a play to pick off Dyrus.
Attacking the global with some of their own. GBM gets the kill. Licorice actually going to fall down. He's hanging the tower in that one for too long. Dyrus gets a trade kill.
Yeah, Dyrus is able to find a kill back on the Licorice. Looks like that might have been misplayed a little bit by the side of eUnited. After they devote that many resources up to the top side, Delta Fox gets to work right away with that Mountain Dragon, putting it to use around the mid-outer turret of eUnited.
eUnited have to rotate their dual lane up into this mid lane to match the pressure that Delta Fox was put in after taking that Mountain Dragon themselves and trying to take down that mid lane tower. Cutie Pie, in the meantime, returns to the bottom side of the map. Now Voyboy kind of left to his own devices. Shifter's over the wall, but this mid lane tower is taken out extremely low from the push they had before. Chain of Corruption goes out. The Braum ultimate follows after, and Shifter tunneled right into that one. Voyboy used the cleanse, uses the paralyzing gaze as well. Now they tried to lock down onto GBM. Justice Punch knocks up Skara. Winds of War tries to take down Shifter. He's barely going to survive, but the first tower of the game goes to eUnited. They wind up picking up a kill on the Skara as well as GBM in the backside gets a kill.
Everyone backs away from the mid-outer turret on the side of Delta Fox. It leaves Voyboy alone trying to hold that one. That's already a pretty low turret. They start things off with the Varus Chain of Corruption. Void cleanses a little bit after, and the rest of eUnited's already wrapping around the side from that top side play that they just made. And you got to see the Protobelt Galio at work a little bit there, helping get a kill onto Skara, I believe, and 4 of the 6 kills coming down to the support.
Yeah, so Skara, well, he's actually had some pretty decent stunts and pretty okay movements on the map. Has kind of been the butt end of all 66.7% of the kills from the side of eUnited. So his Bard performance, while it's been decent, not necessarily matching his now junglers and shifters performance in game number 1. More importantly, though, it's created a lot of space on the bottom side for PewDiePie to try to farm up this disadvantage in CS he had between himself and Varus. The bottom lane tower taken down pretty decently low, but GBM has now shown up to just duel off against PewDiePie's Lucian. Delta Fox, though, they have some vision control on the bottom side of the map from taking that dragon earlier on. Looks like they might be trying to get a little bit of deep vision and see if they get a dive off on GBM, but Dandy shows his face over there. eUnited now know that nobody's really around this top side area for Delta Fox. There's one more that scouts him out, but it looks like they might be content to try to take this Rift Herald.
Yeah, looks like they're going to go up there while Delta Fox continues to pressure around the bot jungle.
Ooh, dash away from PewDiePie will actually not wind up landing as GBM knocked him up, forced the flash out as well as the taunt was channeling. So PewDiePie, summoner spells down, actually burned the heal as well.
Delta Fox setting up a brush bait though, hoping Dandy shows his way up there while the rest of the team's working on this.
Ooh, Voyboy gets the blue buff away. He's also got the Stand United here from Dyrus. The grounded coming out from Licorice forces the flash over the wall afterwards. Rift Herald will go down, and definitely is the one that gets on that one for himself. So eUnited, while they're a little bit dicey in some of the ways that they're doing things, still solid advantage. They're not wind up losing anybody in these trades as well.
Yep, able to grab another objective on their side while avoiding some of the pressure that Delta Fox was putting down in the bot lane. Dandy didn't end up checking that brush, sensing something was up most likely as GBM focused more on wave clearing. And Delta Fox is clearly trying to play around PewDiePie. He's been having a good day so far. Good KDAs in both game 1 and game 2, good plays, and they're trying to get him going, but just not quite finding the exact right angles, and they're still trying to work on their first turret as well, that bot lane turret, the lowest one, and they make multiple efforts down there.
They've been slowly chipping away with it as PewDiePie continues to push down there, and as you mentioned, it's been a bit of the strong suit here for Delta Fox in today's best of 3 series. First series they brought to all 3 games, so already some props to Delta Fox, but they got a long way to climb to the last place team trying to take down the first place team. Now they find Voyboy sitting in the pixel brush. Stun winds up landing actually down on the Deathly. Has to flash away. Hero's entrance is used. The Chain of Crusher winds up landing on the Scar as well. It spreads over to shit. The Tempered Fate locks everybody up. Voyboy's dealing with Zazel on the backside in the meantime, but GBM flashes forward, taunts up Scar, knocks him up, and he winds up taking him down. Voyboy's able to pick up 2 kills though, as they've lost PewDiePie, but now they still got Voyboy with this blue buff, dishing out the damage, dishing out the pain. We saw Dyrus joining in as well to this fight. Now GBM getting a 3-man taunt, but there's 3 damage dealers, only to 1. Shutdown spree goes to Shifter.
And looks like Delta Fox might be firing their way back into this game. 4 for 2, and a lot of kills going down that Cassiopeia, the hyper late game scaling mage in the mid lane. Licorice did not want to teleport down for whatever reason, already at low health, and instead focusing on taking down this top side to try and trade some gold back. The problem for Delta Fox is can they get any objectives after the fight? They need to find a little bit more gold influx to be able to really claw their way back in this game. Still only 1,500 gold down, a little bit more as that turret drops. Just 17.5 minutes in the game.
Voyboy is trying to pressure down that mid lane tower, but that one's still pretty healthy. You can see on the map, it's a bit grayed out. It means it's not so healthy anymore. Dyrus still pushing down this bottom side. Wants to try to get this tower down for himself as well, greeting a little bit for some CS. That tower is going to wind up falling, though, so they lose the tower on the top side. They win a fight, though, however.
Showing he still has the calculations. Make sure the turret finishes off his minion wave as he finishes off the turret.
Genius mind coming out from Dyrus. Split pushing in the bottom side. Now Zazel finds himself a Skara, who is a lion's share of the deaths coming out from the side of eUnited. 8 kills to 7.
Trying to make Dyrus feel better about the last game.
I guess so. I mean, that's the moral support. Not only did he role swap for both of these games, now he's also providing a different type of support that I guess Shifter just couldn't provide for Dyrus. I mean, Shifter helped him get a win as a support.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty useful. On the bot side, we still see a lot of vision control down on Delta Fox. They've been prioritizing that a lot more, but now they're in a little bit of a strange situation where PewDiePie is up on the top side while GBM is up there with teleport. He has not much armor, so PewDiePie is happy to try and match him in the lane assignment, but it does mean that they don't have a global up there, but eUnited looks like they want to attack the Lucian with the Shen ult up. This is going to be a little dicey if they go for it.
Yeah, Delta Fox may not necessarily know exactly where eUnited is with the Rift Herald available. Almost fell on that one. That'll let them know exactly where they are, is now with multiple members up in this top side of the map. 4 to be precise. Rift Herald charges down into this top tier 2 tower, but a flash forward and a paralyzing gaze coming out from Voyboy. Temper Fate splits the team, doesn't really land on anybody, but Dandy's taking a lot of damage. Definitely will wind up going down the backline as PewDiePie flashed in. Another kill goes over to Delta Fox. They stunned up PewDiePie. Can they take him down? He's kiting backward towards Scar, but he will fall. Licorice just joined the fray on the backside of the map, and a Cataclysm and a Hero's entrance will seal the deal on Scara. Now it's Shifter and Dyrus versus the rest of eUnited. It's going to be a shutdown going to Licorice as Dyrus has to taunt himself out of there. It's going to be 2 kills for the price of 4.
Oh, he blocked
eUnited,
it.
actually Dyrus blocking out some damage, gets another kill. That's a 4 for 3. Still in favor of eUnited.
Good presence of mind of Dyrus to walk back in front of GBM, who had the turret aggro on him, stops the Justice Punch from being able to pull him out of the turret range, is able to trade an extra kill back for it. I believe that ended up a 2 for 0, or 2 for 3, excuse me, on the side of Delta Fox. Actually 2 for 4. I can count. I'm on top of my game today, Tom.
3 actually, because GBM fell after that too. They wanted to pick up a kill onto Zazel. Not Zazel. They wanted to pick up a kill on the Dandy. They picked up a kill on the Deathly, and they killed the Rift Herald. Rift Herald didn't even get the tower.
They didn't kill Dandy, did they?
Oh, they didn't kill Dandy?
No, the 3 beefcakes of eUnited were alive at the end before GBM dropped to Dyrus. Now, that was actually a mistake by Dyrus. He was not actually able to get his Stand United off onto PewDiePie, who only needed the shield to potentially kite that fight out. He did have a lifesteal item available. He has his Blade of the Rune King, and he's against 3 melee champions, so as long as he's able to dodge out on some damage and get some distance between them, he might be able to live there. Dyrus didn't end up Stand Uniting him, and the shield was not there to protect their star AD carry on my PewDiePie.
2, 2, and 4 in this game. Still pretty decent though. It's Voyboy 2, 2, and 5. 1 extra assist might make him the star, but Shifter now having a much better game on this Rek'Sai after I had some questions about the pickup here. Scara, the 1, 6, and 5 Bard, forcing away Licorice, mainly because of the threat of the rest of the team coming in, but at the same time here, with multiple members of Delta Fox on the top side, eUnited on the bottom side, get themselves a Drake of their own, the first one of the game for them.
Definitely just deciding he's a jungle this game. He was the one who secured the Rift Herald. He's also the one who secures the Dragon now. Dandy apparently wants to go find kills. He doesn't want to do anything involving dragons.
No, Scar has to flash away from that one as well. Bard pulls away from the side of eUnited, collapsing in the mid lane. This game, much more under control. Game number 2 at this point was almost over. Multiple thousands, almost 10,000 gold lead. This time around, it's only 3,000 gold lead in the favor of eUnited. A lot of that's going to be coming out the fact that they are a couple kills ahead. They have an extra tower, but still, mainly the fact that there's about a 20 CS advantage on favor of Deathly's Varus. Despite jungling, he still has a CS advantage over his lane opponent. The fact that Licorice has gotten himself some shutdown gold in that last fight, as well as still a CS advantage over Dyrus in this top lane Jarvan.
A lot of things going right for eUnited here, 3,500 gold up, but they do need to be careful. That last fight easily could have gone in Delta Fox's favor if PewDiePie had been kept alive, or potentially Voyboy, but the fact that both those damage dealers went down, eUnited able to win out after that, but it was still a very scrappy fight, and it's one where, for the most part, Delta Fox will scale fine throughout this game, and the power of the Jarvan Galio combination does start to drop off if they start hitting late game items, because they stop building damage after their first 2 for the most part.
Yeah, and even then you still have Varus, who does decent amounts of damage in the later stages of the game, but you have a Cassiopeia you have to worry about from the side of Delta Fox. Talk about the single target DPS of that pick as looks like they're trying to shut it down. The Stand United goes down to save out Voyboy, but Shifter and Voy are both going to fall down to just a massive AoE team fight of eUnited. Now Dyrus is in the middle of everybody, and he's not going to live for long. Actually, Blast Cone hit over the wall. I don't know if that was Dyrus or somebody else, but he actually might be looking to lead them on a merry chase with a flash forward from Zazel. Another Blast Cone for Dyrus. Gets himself out alive, and instead eUnited might be looking for Baron Nash.
And that's that team fight power we're talking about with the Jarvan Galio combination, and Voyboy being the potential exposed backline member with the immobile Cassiopeia gets jumped on and obliterated there. Shifter going down as well very quickly, and after that, there's no hope for Delta Fox to win that fight. There's no smite to contest this Baron, but it looks like they might want to fight anyways.
They're trying to get some kills down to clean this one up, though. PewDiePie dashes backwards. They're trying to kite this out. Dyrus is still in the front line, but they brought that on to Scara, and PewDiePie has to try to flash away. There's no one else from his team to try to help him whatsoever. Double kill secured by Licorice. Dyrus is trying to chase that onto Zazel. He's got Deathly hot, and it seals behind him. Lands a shot with the static shiv proc, and Dyrus now just trying to buy some time. Puts the taunt down. Might have the dodge field up soon, and he does, but it's going to be easily taken down by the duo here from eUnited.
eUnited able to find that fight that they needed. Shifter went down. They know there's no smite. Easy Baron secure, and Delta Fox walked up a little bit too far trying to contest that one. Wanted to get something back off of it. Not quite able to do so as the remaining members of the initial engage go down there.
Well, after the 2 fights in a row and the Baron now going in favor of eUnited, it snowballed from a 3,000 to an 8,000, or close enough to 8,000 gold lead in favor of eUnited. And this is going to be very, very, very difficult for Delta Fox to kind of come back from. Game number 2, when this kind of advantage was gained super early on, they struggled to kind of come back into this one.
And it looks like Dandy breaking out the Zeke's convergence. Hold on, we got a potential gank in the bot lane here.
Going on the Licorice, does get locked up and stunned against the wall. Shifter kind of getting the Unburrow as well. The Cataclysm to try to trade some damage back down. Can Licorice pick up a kill? Hero's Entrance is going to want it coming in. They get the shutdown on the Licorice, but GBM picks up 2 kills off the back of that. Taunt lands down onto Cutie Pie, and Dandy finds himself a kill.
Yeah, there we see eUnited getting a 3-for-1. Licorice able to get everyone down low and not able to pick up a kill himself, but it sets them all up for that heroic entrance on the Galio. Gets 2 kills almost instantly and sets up the rest of his team for the 3rd one. And, you know, funnily enough, we were talking about Zeke's convergence and how we probably weren't going to see it given the usefulness of Stoneplate Locket. But to be fair, if you have 3 very strong, tanky bruisers available with the Galio, the Gragas, the Jarvan, and even the Braum, you can, of course, you build a Zeke's convergence to just amp everyone's damage up.
Yeah, so we see that one being picked up for the first time here. In addition to that, GBM has a 8, 2, and 9, 20-stack Medjai's mid lane Galio. So packing up huge punch.
He's showing Dandy how to stack it up.
Yeah, I guess so. As now they may be competing with themselves here. And Delta Fox see themselves yet another tower on the bottom side of the map as Baron Buff still has about a full minute left on it from the side of eUnited. And this all kind of stems back to Delta Fox kind of combating one of their greatest opponents. Not necessarily eUnited in this one, but the 20-minute mark of the game.
It is seemingly the bane of their existence. They conquered the demon in the first game, but fall to it in games 2 and 3.
You mentioned earlier on that they have one of the largest goal deficits at the 20-minute mark, and it's kind of come to show here. They had ways to get back in the game. They had fights that looked like they were going in their favor, but just not the right place, not the right time. Fights that they're a little bit late to react to, just not being able to respect the composition coming out from eUnited as they collapse on the Void Blade in a fight near this blue buff that they're fighting over right now. Just previously, Delta Fox all of a sudden find themselves from a fairly close game to how do they come back in this game?
It is still possible for them to come back. They need to, of course, wait for late game. It's hard to do because the dive available for eUnited is so strong. You have basically 4 people who are happy to jump onto a backline, and a Varus who will shoot his ultimate in and hopefully kite out a Shen, who's really the only backline threat. Maybe the Rek'Sai as well if it gets on there, but it's going to be hard to win a fight if your Cassiopeia is instantly dead. Boy does have his flash available this time, so maybe if eUnited overextend under a turret, they kite it out, they can melt down their front line. But without the Void Staff completed yet and some MR items on multiple members on the side of eUnited, the Cassiopeia's damage is not as high as you expect it to be when you think about a late game Cassiopeia, which admittedly is not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. We're still only about 27 minutes into this game, and the last dying breaths of Baron buff, eUnited took down that top outer tower, which will be the last remaining outer tower on the map for them to take. After that Baron buff push, they're going to be content to just sit back and go for a Infernal Drake of their own. So now stacking up 2 Elemental Dragons for themselves. Looks like another Infernal will be something on the map that this game goes a little bit longer that eUnited can set their sights on. But now this is kind of, this is eUnited once again. More of the eUnited that we expected to see coming into this one. More so even than in game number 2, where they just completely crushed Delta Fox. Now we see an eUnited that, while they had an early game lead, then we're struggling a little bit in the mid stages of this game. By mid stages, I mean maybe the 15-minute mark of this game. It's less than 30 minutes still, but they're able to kind of recollect themselves, work on what their composition was supposed to do, and seal the deal to a gold advantage in this later stage of the game.
A big part of that for me has been Dandy, both in games 2 and 3. He found really good openings on, you know, different sides of the map. Game 2, excuse me, getting his Renekton snowballing against the Kennen, and then in game 3, shutting down the advantageous matchup of Delta Fox with the range support and Bard against the Braum. So just really smart play out of Dandy overall in terms of getting his team going. And then once they have those leads, the eUnited's able to run with them pretty well.
Meanwhile, on the side of Delta Fox, you mentioned Boy not quite at the late game Cassiopeia damage spike yet. Has Morello's Void Staff and a Rylai's. is yet to really transform his Tear of the Goddess into a Seraph Embrace, although the stacking on that one has got to be very, very close to full, if not full already. Shifter now on this Rek'Sai. He was 3-1-3 at one point, now 4-3-3 at another point. So now able to transition those early advantages into something for him. And now Licorice might be caught out here. The Flag and Drag goes down, but PewDiePie and Skara both flash out immediately as soon as they see that Hero's Engine's landing down. Delta Fox looking for a fight, but Voiva being locked up in the backline. He was exhausted. He's trying to survive, but he's going to wind up going down. Definitely picks up the first kill from that one. Dandy's going to wind up locking down on the Shifter. And even though they started the fight on the Licorice, he's going to be the one that helps to finish it as a double kill goes over to the Baron.
And that's the thing about this composition of eUnited. We talk about, oh yeah, it dives your backline super well, but guess what? It also protects people as well. So when you try and pick off the split pushing Licorice, GBM comes flying over the top, able to protect him, as well as have a ton of extra CC for his team to follow up on. And then they catch out Boy early on that team fight, blow him up. Talk about the struggles of an immobile mage versus Team Comp, and pretty on display in that team fight.
All the damage dealers are dead for Delta Fox, and with Dyrus going down as well, that will stem the hopes and dreams of Delta Fox taking their first match win. They were able to win game number 1, but eUnited reminds us who's the #1 team in Challenger by taking its decisive game 2 and a very strong game number 3.
Yeah, but they're showing the signs of improvement. Delta Fox grabbed their first game victory against the #1 seeded team, or place team, excuse me, in the North American Challenger Series. But eUnited shows they know how to close games out after they clean up their play a little bit, clean up their drafts from game 1, game 2, and game 3, heavily in eUnited's favor.
Yeah, eUnited kind of just showing up a couple of the holes, not over chasing. There's still a couple bouts of potentially solo queue syndrome that they were devolving into in game 2, but game number 3 was very solid. They played their composition very well. They played to the strengths of it, and even though Delta Fox was very close for maybe the first 15, 18 minutes of the game, once they got a gold advantage, once they got that real like kind of team fight change around the blue buff area where they locked down Voiboy and we saw what their composition can do, Delta Fox struggled to respond and fell down.
Yeah, and in game 2, they had like a much stronger team fight, team comp, and they were able to find some pickoffs with it. This time around, not quite the case. If you're playing from behind versus this heavy dive comp, your Cassiopeia is probably going to die every team fight unless you're focusing someone else early in. They had a couple team fights. They almost won that one in the top lane being extremely notable. If they played that a little bit better, maybe Delta Fox can win that team fight, but eUnited just a little bit too good.
Yeah, and eUnited showing off why they're the #1 team. And as we saw a little bit earlier, we saw GCU and Tempo Storm took their matches this week. So that means that eUnited continuing to pad their lead over those two teams that they already have wins against. 2 against Tempo Storm, 1 against GCU. We'll see them play against them again in the second best of 3 series a little bit later on in the Challenger Series. Delta Fox, though, I mean, they won 1 game. They're still pretty far behind in the standings, dead last place. But CLG Academy, we've seen them struggling in the closeout games. Now, Big Gods Jackals have fallen down to decisively a 4th place spot. Can this team make a run? I mean, I'm asking you of all people. Can this team make a run?
Potentially. Is it mathematically possible? I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
I believe in math.
All right, well, thanks for sticking around with Mark and I hope you guys have enjoyed our special coverage for this Delta Fox versus eUnited series. Now, on behalf of myself, Mark, and the entire Challenger broadcast crew, thanks for watching and sticking with us. We'll see you next week.